Hello, I'm going to try and finish this whole Napoleon thing in this video, so it might be another like 20-minute video. Sorry. Okay, now that the king is dead, now that Robespierre is dead, who the heck is in charge? People are looking around at each other like, and so a new government gets created. Okay, the DRMC is basically scrapped, gotten rid of, and a new constitution is written which says, we will create what's called the directory. The directory has several directors who are in charge of it. Okay. The directory then sends this young man somewhere. That is a young Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon Bonaparte gets his start or whatever in the military, and he starts gaining some power, I guess you could say, because of his leadership ability. And just a little side note, people are always like, oh, he's the short guy. Y'all, he was like 5'6" or so. And I know you're like, oh, that is short. But for the time, that wasn't that short. And I mean, to me, because I'm a hobbit, like that's pretty darn tall. But he's not as short as you think he is. That being said, Napoleon is in the military and he is sent to Egypt. That seems so weird. But he is sent to Egypt. Okay. He's sent to Egypt because at this time there's starting to be like all of these stories and like rumors and stuff of the fact that Egypt has a ton of gold. You just got to go into somebody's tomb and steal it. No big deal. And so, sorry. You have Napoleon go down to Egypt to like find some gold. He does. This is a famous painting of Napoleon when he gets to Egypt. Guys, the Egypt that we discussed last semester that was like strong and vibrant and cultural and all this stuff, supposedly like a lot of the monuments, I mean, you see the Sphinx in this one, a lot of the monuments are like, who cares? Nobody cares about their awesome history anymore. So Napoleon's able to just go into tombs with dynamite, which just hurts my heart a little bit. But he's able to go into tombs and just basically steal whatever he wants. He takes a lot of this stuff back to France. France, the directory, the government, is going to turn around and pay off some of the debts that France has. Finally, they are able to pay off England completely. Spain is almost completely paid off. Okay. Napoleon is told to go back to Egypt and get some more stuff. And Napoleon's like, why would I want to do what you tell me to do when I could do whatever I want to do? And Napoleon stages, I should find this word so you can see it. It's in your notes. Here it is. But the word, he stages a coup d'etat. Where is it? There it is right here. See it? It looks like coup. There it is. It looks like coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. Coup d'etat. A coup d'etat is another type of revolution, but it's weird. When you have a revolution, it means the people have risen up and taken over. Okay? But when you have a coup d'etat, what happens is somebody who's in the government takes over the government. Well, Napoleon, being a military general, is he part of the government? So Napoleon goes to the directors and he's like, meh, yeah, you're not in charge anymore. I am. He changes the constitution. He sets up what's called the consulate. We've dealt with a government that had consuls. Rome. Last October, we talked about, maybe into November, we talked about Rome having two consuls. Remember? They ruled for just a year at a time. They flip-flopped with the praetors. Is any of this familiar? I don't know. I hope so. He sets up the consulate, except instead of two consuls, there's going to be three. Three men who all share power equally. That was a Roman thing too. They called it the triumvirate. And how well did that work? Both triumvirates were a holy mess, if you remember. That being said, he basically sets that up, okay? In theory, all three men have equal power, but his title is first consul. So, I mean, by having a first, second, and third consul, do you really have equal power? No. However, Napoleon brings back DRMC ideas. Okay, in the new constitution that he's going to write, so he's doing things legally. He's going to add in a lot of the DRMC ideas. He brings back natural rights. He brings back freedoms. Slaves are freed. Women have equal rights. He sets up these schools called lycées, and these schools are basically public schools for everybody. Every peasant can go to this school. Girls too? Yeah. Now, the girls are not being taught the same thing the boys are. Duh. Okay. But the girls can start getting some education too. All right. He is creating a national bank to try and like stabilize the money problem that they have. Once he creates a national bank and he can figure out like exactly how much wealth everybody has, he can create a fair tax system where everybody's paying like fair amounts. You don't have a group of people that are paying 50% and a group of people paying nothing. So that's going to help out big time. That also is allowing him to start paying Prussia, Austria, and the rest of Spain for their debt so that he can start paying them on a regular basis. Okay. We also have a situation where he's doing fair laws with everybody. He says, look, we're not gonna, I mean, even though those old nobles who are peasants now, even though I think they suck too, we're not going to treat them differently. If we say that all people have human rights, then that means them too. So far, man, things are great. Napoleon, although he staged a coup d'etat and he looks like he could be a tyrant, man, so far things are great, right? Well, very slowly, he starts changing, amending some of the Constitution's laws. It's called his Napoleonic Code. And in this code, he starts doing things like, okay, ladies, I'm really sorry. We can't have you girls in school. We need you girls at home in the kitchen. Sorry. So females can't go to lycées anymore. Females can't be like educated anymore. He's like, slaves, man, I freed y'all. Well, he didn't really, the DRMC did, but he's like, man, we're starting to fall behind in sugar production in the American, not American like us, but like in the islands, in the Americas. We got to round up our slaves again. Can you imagine being a slave who was freed for like 10 years and then Napoleon turns around and says, just kidding. Like, that's terrible. He's going to slowly, with his Napoleonic Code, start taking away people's rights. That looks incredibly tyrannical. Then he does something weird. He decides he wants to be, oh, there he is. Sorry. He decides he wants to be an emperor. The entire French Revolution, they get rid of their king just so that Napoleon can crown himself king. So we start with a king, we go through craziness, and then we end with a king. But Napoleon goes a step farther than king and he crowns himself emperor. To be an emperor, you have to, don't worry, he's about to. Okay. He's about to go to war with like everybody and their dog in Europe. That being said, I've told you a million times. Oh, you know what? Let me hit something else before I tell you this a million and one times. The people of France don't really care that he declares himself king. You would think that, I mean, that is such a tyrannical move. You would think that the people of France would be like, whoa, wait a minute. I don't think so. But they're like, okay, go for it. He's done so much good for them that they don't really care. And they've been through such drama. Guys, this is like 1801 or something. They've been through such drama for the last 10 or so years. They're over it. And they're like, you know what? We like Napoleon. We trust Napoleon. So if he's going to be a good king, cool. They accept it. What I've told you a million and one times is this. Wars. Wars cost a lot of money. They're highly expensive. Money is one thing France does not have. So Napoleon looks at the map and he says, I got this huge chunk of land over here that I don't really care about. I wonder if those pesky Americans, oh man, would like it. It's Napoleon who sells us, whatever this is, the Louisiana Purchase. Napoleon goes to our president, Thomas Jefferson, and says, hey, I got all this land here. We have this at this point. Well, I just touched Spain. That's Spain. But we have this at this point. Okay. We don't have this, and we don't have this. This is French. Napoleon, however, will sell this to us, and it's going to double the size of the US. Okay. We basically, unknowingly, of course, but we basically pay for the wars that Napoleon's about to have. That being said, we have a couple of political cartoons here that I want to show you. This right here is one, okay, where you have one of his noble dudes. And look at Napoleon here. Even back then, he was shown little. Yeah, right here. What's he doing? He's carving him some food. But what is it? Look at this one. Oh, it's kind of small. Darn it. Oh, it blows up okay. This one is called Crying for a New Toy. Poor Napoleon. In this, you have a nanny over here. I think she's horrifying looking, but she's supposed to be like a nanny. He's supposed to be like a little kid. You see his little, whatever that is. And here's his little toilet. Isn't it cute? Or gross? I don't know. But it says crying for a new toy. And the woman, the nanny, is saying, well, child, you shall have it, but I don't think you'll be a bit better for it, nor quieter once you've got it. And what is Napoleon saying? I will have it, or else I'll cry. Give me my crown. Other countries, these are both English political cartoons. Other countries aren't really looking at Napoleon in a very positive light, okay? Because he's about to go to war with all of them. This is a famous painting of Napoleon. This is actually him entering Russia, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this is him on his Napoleonic Wars. He's like, man, I'm taking over stuff. I'm taking over the whole world. Well, I think next is a map. Let's look at the map. This is the map of Europe before Napoleon. Okay, so you have France over here in blue. And the first place that Napoleon decides to go to war with is England. If he wins against England, he gets the entire British Empire, which we're going to talk about it. It's our next thing, but it's huge. It's massive. It's pieces of 6 of the 7 continents. That's impressive. But see, England has the best what in the world? Do you remember? Navy. So he can't defeat their navy. What he does is he sets up a blockade of French ships around England. And then he tells the rest of Europe, none of you can trade with England. If any of you trade with England, it's war. Well, Portugal isn't listening. Portugal's like, excuse me, you, France, cannot tell me, Portugal, who to trade with. So bite me. And Portugal is still trying to get through this blockade to trade with England. Napoleon gets all mad and he's like, I said what I said. So he declares war on Portugal. Okay, what I'm about to say, please focus for a second, because when we get to World War I, this is an issue. Okay? You cannot march through one country to get to another country. That'll be an issue in World War I. Germany cannot march through another country to get to France. You have to ask first. Napoleon has 2 ways that he can get to Portugal, okay? He can either take his ships around, which is what he should have done, or he can march through Spain. Well, if he marches through Spain, he's going to have to ask permission, and he knows Spain isn't going to give him permission because Spain and Portugal are buddies. He also doesn't want to take his ships away from that blockade that is around England. So he chooses to, Spain, whatever. march through Spain. Well, the Spaniards are not okay with that. And that starts what's called the Peninsular War. Okay. Basically, I mean, Portugal's going to be involved some too, but France, Napoleon never even gets to Portugal. Okay. What ends up happening is the Spaniards are so ticked off that he would like, how dare him? So they rise up against him. Well, he ends up killing their king, which just ticks him off even more. Then Napoleon puts his own brother on the throne of Spain. So now the Spaniards have a Frenchman who is their king, and they're like ticked off. The Spaniards are going to just keep fighting like crazy. Okay. Then Napoleon's going to turn around, and I think I actually did out of order. I think he went to Italy first, but that's okay. But he comes down here, and he's going to take over some of northern Italy as well. I guess I can go ahead and go to the next map. Looky here. So anyway, he's going to come down here and take over some of northern Italy. Okay. Okay, I guess that map's okay. I kind of wish it was different. I use a different map in AP, and I guess I just grabbed the wrong map. Sorry. But anyway, so he's going to come down here and take some of this. Okay. He then starts moving here and starts taking over some of the Germanies. Okay, Prussia. Prussia is like, don't come into our country. Prussia and Austria are allies. Okay. Napoleon is going to be allowed to get to Russia. He wants to attack Russia. So he comes through and gets to Russia. Here's the thing. He doesn't actually conquer, and that's why I don't like this map. It makes it look like he conquered Prussia and Austria. He didn't. They made a deal, okay? So a lot of the time you'll hear people say that Prussia and Austria were Napoleon's allies. They don't like Napoleon, but they do kind of make this agreement where he's not going to take them over. And Prussia is working on militarizing. They're an incredibly strong military. So he's like, I'm pretty good too, but I don't want to fight you. So they're in an alliance, basically. But just understand, Prussia and Austria, they aren't really helping. Like when we think alliance, we think, I'm going to war with you. Not in this situation. But still, so Napoleon is going to get through to Russia. Okay, look how big Russia is. And guys, it goes on and on and on and on and on forever. Can little France conquer Russia? Okay, when he enters Russia, it's winter. Well, winter is starting, and this is a hardcore winter. A lot of the French soldiers are also people from in here, and people from in here, people who are being forced to fight, or they're mercenaries. They're being paid to fight by Napoleon. So they're not really loyal to Napoleon. They don't really care about his cause, all right? When winter hits here in Russia and they're trying to make their way up here to St. Petersburg, people are starving. People are freezing. People are dying like crazy. And the Russians are mostly just getting out of the way. They're just running. That was breaking news. Sorry. So anyway, Russia, my brain's elsewhere. So anyway, Russia, winter. The winter in Russia is getting crazy. It's just getting too cold. They're running away. People are starving. And a lot of these mercenaries and a lot of these people that Napoleon is forcing to fight are like, forget this crap. And they're just deserting. They're just leaving. They're just, bye, leaving. As they start leaving, the Russians come behind them and start attacking. Okay. Well, as the French are being attacked from behind, they start running and they don't care what they run into. They're going to flood a lot of these border Prussian towns. And the Prussians are like, oh, heck no. And so Prussia rises up and declares war. No surprise, where Prussia declares war, so does Austria. We have a big brother, little brother situation here. Okay. So these two countries have just declared war on Napoleon. Well, of course, Russia's like, we're coming too. We then are going to have England. We're coming too. And of course, Spain, even though Spain's brother's on the throne, he gets killed, by the way, just so you know. The Spanish military is like, we're coming too. Eventually, even the Netherlands is going to come. So if you think about all the countries that are coming to attack France, oh my gosh, we're coming from this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, and don't forget about that Russian population. Napoleon's in trouble. That being said, Napoleon is captured, but they don't want to kill him. So they send him here, all right, in exile to this island. I don't understand this idea at all. I cannot explain this. Kids always ask. The Prussians don't want to kill Napoleon because they actually respect his military prowess. They respect him as a military leader. But to send him here, I can't explain that decision either. He's still so close to France. Plus, if I remember right, he was born here. I'm pretty sure he was born here. So he like knows people. He just builds up a little military again and he just leaves. You're like, how did he get off the island? He just left. We have a quarantine here. You should not be leaving your house, but you do. Well, who's stopping you? Nobody. Guys, he's told you can't leave. Yes, there's some guards there. He still gets out. He goes right back to Paris and he's like, crown, boom, king. And all of these countries are like, oh, son of a biscuit. And they all just turn around and go right back to war. There's a plane. It's called Waterloo. And Napoleon will be captured there. This is 1814. When Napoleon is captured there, England is like, we're killing him, because it was England that captured him. The Duke of Wellington is the guy who actually captured him. And Prussia's like, we're not killing him. Already, even though this is 100 years before World War I, you should start seeing that Prussia, which will become Germany, and England are starting to butt heads. There's starting to be a power struggle between which one is the most powerful, which one is the strongest, which one has the best military, right? Well, Prussia gets her way, and Prussia says, we're not killing him, but we will exile him again. This time, however, they're not going to send him here. France, where he was sent, they send a ship doing all kinds of stuff, moving all over the place. And they eventually settle on a little island in the middle of the whatever called St. Helena. Napoleon will be exiled there, and Napoleon will end up dying there. There's a lot of question about what he died from. Some people think he was poisoned. Some historians think, if you look at his symptoms, it kind of looks like it could be stomach cancer. We don't know. Point is, he dies. When Napoleon dies, all of Europe looks around and goes, okay, what now? And there's a meeting. I promise we're almost done. Oh man, it's a small picture. Dang it. There's a meeting. It's called the Congress of Vienna. And at the Congress of Vienna, what is decided is this. Official borders. Oh, this isn't a good map because Germany's in there. Let me go back to the previous map. I can use the previous map. Germany hasn't been created yet, guys. That's why you're like, huh? So anyway, what's going to happen is this. Official borders are being created. One of the issues with Napoleon was, where does France actually stop? And where do some of these Germanic kingdoms actually begin? If there's a river, it's easy to tell what a border is. If there's not a river and it's just a line, well, somewhere over there is, I don't know, a Germanic country, and somewhere over there is Napoleon. So there's an issue there. So at the Congress of Vienna, everybody looks at a map and says, okay, what is the actual border of? And actual borders are like drawn in. You also have a lot of the leaders discuss a way that future Napoleons who want to take over Europe, like Adolf Hitler, won't be able to, because this is going to work. But what they come up with is what's called a balance of power, that we need to create a system of alliances so that if you're an ally with England, okay, like, I don't know, let's say France, and somebody wants to invade France, they know that if they invade France, England is going to go to war too to help France. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not going to go fight, I don't know, the Crips, because I know if I fight one Crip, all the other Crips are coming. But if I'm going to fight somebody who doesn't have an ally, do you see that? So the idea is, if you have countries with allies. Then there will be a balance of power in Europe. And everybody kind of looks at the European countries and goes, okay, who are the two strongest countries? Well, England and Prussia. So they're going to kind of be the big dogs. Okay. And of course, they're going to pick, I guess, their alliances. England and France, this should be no surprise in any way, shape, or form. They're going to be allies. You're also going to have Prussia and Austria be allies, just like with England and France. This should not be a surprise in any way, shape, or form, because you have big brother, little brother relationship with England and France. I've talked about it all year. You also have big brother, Prussia, which will become Germany, and little brother relationship with Austria. Okay, so we have our two big alliances, England and France, and then we have Prussia and Austria. Eventually, not yet, but eventually, Russia is going to come into this. Russia is going to join the alliance with England. And eventually, once Italy is all unified, Italy is going to join the alliance with Prussia and Austria. So eventually, what you'll end up with, and again, I didn't even think when I pulled this map that Germany's on here. I'll explain Germany getting created later. But eventually, what you will end up with is the triple entente right here with Great Britain in charge, France, and Russia. And then you'll have the triple alliance here with Germany in charge, Prussia right now, Austria, and Italy. And of course, we'll add in all this other stuff later. Okay. This is actually a World War I map, because these two alliances that kind of start being created after Napoleon, they're not totally created at this point, but they start being created after Napoleon. That sets up World War I. Guys, we're in 1814. Well, Napoleon's defeated in 1814. World War I is 1914. So we're getting there real quick. Okay, again, I'm sorry this video was a little bit longer, but this whole Napoleon stuff, that's the way it is. All right, bye guys. See you next week.